How's it going, folks? Welcome to the Ope-Eh Three-Way Pro Wrestling Podcast. It's Brandon here, as always, joined by my buddies Donnie and Pierce. And fellas, a storm is coming. And I don't mean anything about Jade Cargill. I don't mean anything even about these incendiary opinions being thrown around by our United States champion Logan Paul. I'm saying I legitimately have a storm brewing overhead of me right now as I speak. So if my internet starts to chop in and out, I do apologize. But I just wanted to give you all a heads up. Speaking of heads up,
I got
Donnie,
the
what's
same
on our
thing,
agenda for?
so
Yeah,
Oh yeah, that's true.
you guys should have the same storm. I'm assuming, being Wisconsin's not that big, is it?
Well, big enough. It's big enough, Donnie.
From end to end and from point to point in the state. What's the drive like? If you wanted to go from the farthest end of Wisconsin to the other farthest end of Wisconsin, how far?
I mean, it's a little tall. It's a little taller than
average.
wider. We'll say that. It's perfectly
average,
adequate.
Johnny.
It's perfectly adequate, Donald, with your metropolitan sensibilities. I think it's about total. I think it's probably about a 7.5 drive to 8 hour drive, like top to bottom. And oh, crepes. I want to say like a 6-ish hour drive from like if you're talking like say Door County all the way out to like I don't know La Crosse or something like that. That's my estimation though.
Okay.
Or a good sized state.
Comparatively, if we go from like Ottawa, which is like the furthest east, essentially known city, to Kenora, Ontario, which is like right on the border of basically near Manitoba and just north of Minnesota. It's like a 21-hour drive. So
Oh lordy.
yeah, it's a big one. So
That's a big one.
all good.
Yeah, you got a big wet old country there.
Yeah, that's why it's always like context is like interesting for me. But that's not bad. Like weather fronts could be different in different areas of Wisconsin, I suppose.
We're getting the same storm right now. I can promise you that.
Yeah, it's southeastern Wisconsin. Short little rinky-dink area in the corner there.
All
But
right.
but hey, how about that agenda there, Donnie?
Yes,
How are we
yes,
looking
yes.
today?
The agenda, yes. So we're gonna hit
Since
up.
we're sitting here comparing sizes here.
Yeah, of course. Well, this is actually a very short agenda today. So
Oh,
we're gonna do the on this day with Pierce taking that one in just a little bit, and we're gonna talk about the upcoming premium live event from Cleveland. That'll be SummerSlam 2024. We'll do a match by match breakdown, talk about a little bit of the build going into it, and then just really get into the meat and potatoes of our predictions, maybe spoilers, depending on how in the know we are. But yeah, we'll be going through all 7 matches plus any other Cleveland weekend related stuff. And yeah, it'll be a fun show tonight. So, Pierce, you want to kick us off? What happened in August 1st of some point in wrestling history?
Well, it's a pretty boring day if we're being honest. First things first, we're gonna shout out Devon Dudley. Happy birthday to one half of the greatest tag team of all time, in my opinion.
Okay,
Your guys' thoughts?
Hey, thank you for putting in that disclaimer.
I'm testifying over here, boys.
This is an Edge and Christian friendly podcast.
Stay up in Canada, buddy. We're talking Dudleyville right now.
Yeah, let's count how many tag titles they won.
A few.
What is the Dudleys won like 22 overall, right? Like it's an insanely high number.
I think it's like 24 because I was looking at that and like they had that brief little team up in TNA, I think there, and I'm like, if they go for number 25, that would be the perfect cap off, and they can still do it. Like some weird place or shape or form, if they want to shoot off to NWA, it still counts. Some rando indie game changer wrestling.
Devon's
Get her
not
done.
taking
That's what I
any more
say.
bumps, dude. Devon's not taking.
You don't have to
another
take
bump in
bumps.
his life.
All they got to run an OGQ, get Terrence and Terrell in there, have them do a little legacy bit. 1, 2, 3. Give the belts to Dad. Bingo, bango. Well, maybe not both belts. Like Bubba Ray was getting it. Never mind. That's a whole other podcast. but
It says
it can
23
happen,
on
boys.
Wikipedia. 23. TNA recognized them as 23-time World Tag Team Champions.
Oh,
Well, I said 22. You said 24.
Yeah,
was my
23
math
it
not
is.
mathing? Oh, lordy. Well, good thing this ain't a mathematics podcast, boys. That's all I'm going to say about
Damn it. Why not?
it. We ain't
But
the
we're going to go from
scientific
the
types.
Reverend Devon. We're going to go to born-again Christian Shawn Michaels. 1994, he returned to the WWF for the first time since WrestleMania 10 in his legendary ladder match with Razor Ramon to beat Razor Ramon in a 23-minute match leading into SummerSlam 1994, where Razor Ramon faced Diesel and retained the Intercontinental Championship. I don't know why they wouldn't just run back Michaels and Ramon there, but, you know, gotta shoehorn in the big guy, right?
Yeah, I guess. I
Gotta
mean,
eat.
yeah, if that's what they wanted to do, they wanted to have the big meaty men slapping meat. Like, I get it.
Just a quick bonanza at SummerSlam, I guess.
What was okay, so what was that? Do we even know what that card was then? What year was that again?
1994, that was fake Undertaker versus Taker in the main event.
Oh
Had one of
God.
the greatest cage matches of all time. Canadian special, Owen versus Brett.
Yeah.
Let me card. I think I have it up right away
Oh
on
yeah, here we go.
Wikipedia
Jeff
because I was looking this
Jarrett
up.
beat Mabel. Tatanka over
Oh
Leslie
God.
Luger. Alundra Blaze defeated Bull Nakano. And then some other irrelevant matches.
Tonka beating Lex Luger. That's such a... Yeah, that's 1994 WWF. That's not good.
Nope.
So...
Okay.
But finally, the last thing to happen on this day, CM Punk made his highly anticipated debut for ECW on Sci-Fi in the Hammerstein Ballroom, defeating Just Incredible with the Anaconda Vice.
Okay.
And, I mean, what a WWE career that he let out of there. I mean, he became, I think the best word is like an iconoclast. I mean, like I said last time, he's my guy. He will always be my guy. And he's just, I mean, he's number one in my book.
And he's got a busy weekend coming up.
Yeah. It is a big weekend for him. For the first time since January, he returns to the ring after injury. And for the first time since TLC 2013, it's in a singles match. Or I believe TLC 2013 was the one where he faced the Shield in a 1-on-3 handicap match. But this is like this isn't the Royal Rumble. This is a 1-on-1 match for the first time in a WWE PLE for CM Punk in 11 years. In Cleveland at SummerSlam 2024. And that's what we're here to talk about, boys.
Dope. I'm just trying to figure out when his last. I'm just. You got me on so many like little quirky points that I just want to see what they are.
I think realistically, if we're talking one-on-one WWE PLEs, it is SummerSlam 2013, the best versus the beast.
Oh man, you didn't even know that the taglines and everything, man.
Well, when you met me, like I was just bringing up random wrestling.
Oh, he had another
points
handicap match. What, does this guy only have handicap matches at PLEs?
I mean, this was, you got to remember, this was all you one pal time, so he was doing Vince favors for no reason other than to get hurt.
Yeah, so he had the Rumble, which obviously the Rumble's the Rumble, and then he had, like you said, the 1-versus-3 match against the Shield, TLC.
That he won.
Yes.
He should not have won that.
Yeah, well, I don't know why he won that, but anyways. And then before that, it was Hell in a Cell, where he beat, technically a handicap match, Paul Heyman and Ryback.
Oh God, I think that actually came out in my memory banks. Yeah, that stirred something in me there. You get one of those spark moments.
Yeah, but his last singles PLE was Battleground 2013, also against Ryback. So there's that.
Huh. Well, let's just Battleground 2013 should not exist, so let's just say it's SummerSlam 2013 because that Brock match is so good.
It is. It was.
Oh, go back and watch it. It's incredible.
Yeah, he did
I give him
another.
credit. It was a lot better than I thought it was going to be. I was anticipating just Punk getting exposed bad. I was expecting a beatdown, but yeah, he definitely brought his A game to that match for sure.
There was another handicap match at another PLE before that, though, too. Funny enough, Night of
Can I
Champions
can I guess it?
2013.
Can I guess it?
Go ahead.
Is it Curtis Axel and Paul Heyman?
It is.
Look at
He
this
did
guy.
3 back-to-back-to-back handicap matches at a PLE. Was that like some sort of story that there was a reason for that? I wasn't watching it, so I can't say. But
It was when Heyman turned on him, and it was when Heyman had Curtis Axel, and then Ryback joined for some reason, and then he was fighting the Shield for some reason, and then there was the Rumble, and then he came out and was like, "Dude, I'm done." And I mean, he was working hurt is a understatement, but you
I
know,
wonder if that's a record for the most consecutive handicap matches at PLEs. I wonder if he has that record. That seems so unlikely. 3 in a row. I'm really caught up on this, but we can go on into SummerSlam 2024 now. I guess
It's a CM Punk podcast today, folks.
yeah,
and
yeah.
look at the card. No handicap matches.
No, they learned their lesson. It's every single match. There's 7 matches on this card. We'll go into them one by one. Every single match is one-on-one. Are you guys okay with that? What do you guys think of the lack of tag team, 6-man? I mean, we just came off of Money in the Bank that had a main event 6-man tag, but no tag team matches, no tag team titles being defended, no other unorthodox style of matches. It's just 7 straight up singles matches, and the only one with a stip is CM Punk and Drew McIntyre, with Seth Rollins being the special guest referee. You guys have any thoughts on that before we get into each match?
Yeah, I'm a big fan of tag team wrestling, and I was big into Triple H's initiative with NXT, where he really just had a lot of really good tag teams in NXT, and it seemed like there's going to be a resurgence in tag wrestling. And I mean, there's still you have a lot of hodgepodge thrown together within the tag division right now, but you still have like your good standard bearers like DIY. I mean, Finn and JD are obviously very familiar with one another historically and running with the Judgment Day. So they have the potential to be a great team in their own right, assuming Finn doesn't run off to, try to capsize Damian Priest in his current role right now. But I'm hoping that in the near future, especially with the tag belts being split up again and more potential for feature, that they can start to squeeze some more tag matches into PLE cards, because I feel like the last couple they featured on like the show before or after the PLEs.
Yep.
And that's been a relatively consistent thing. So I'm hoping that doesn't continue too far, because especially with Survivor Series coming around, and historically that being a PLE that had focused on teams, not necessarily like traditional tag teams, but your 5-mans and everything. But still, I feel like the point kind of stands and the spirit's kind of there, where we can start to, well, hopefully the WWE were to start to look at, how can we start to really make these tag titles feel important, not just look important.
Yeah, I agree. It's kind of feels like it's just been I think part of the reason is like you're really seeing it in these go home shows prior to um, these big PLEs. Like we saw it on SmackDown going into Money in the Bank, and I know we saw it in the SmackDown going into Mania. But they really play these shows, these go home shows, very safe. Probably because they don't want anybody to get injured. And that's where they've kind of slotted in these tag team matches into, because they don't want any of the high profile matches being put at risk, I guess, going into the weekend. And there's been so many injuries, and I feel like just professional wrestling across the board that they don't want to test fate. I don't know.
Yeah, no, I agree.
Yeah,
And I feel
yeah, I agree, and I'm going to give a little controversial opinion here. I think that with such a bloated roster that they have, bloated may not be the best term, but they could go back to the brand split pay-per-views,
Yeah.
and that would showcase the tag teams a little more. I was always a fan of the brand split pay-per-views. That obviously I came into it post invasion, so I probably am in the minority for that.
You know
But
what? Like, as long as they're running, because it seems like all these, not all these shows, obviously they're big focal point shows. They have either longer matches or more matches. But like these shows, like Clash of the Castle, Bad Blood, whatever. Um, if you're only running 5 matches on them, then you can easily just have it be brand exclusive. You have the main men's title, you have the main women's title, you have 2 sets of tag team titles, you have the IC or US title, and you have a grudge match, right? You don't have to have all of those things on every single one if you only do 5, but like it's pretty easy to fit in 5 matches on one brand right now. I mean, despite how
when,
crummy I think SmackDown is right now. But the framework is there.
when consider the fact too, like they're talking about introducing secondary sets of titles for the women's division. Like the women's division has been experiencing exponential growth over the last few years, and they're well within right to throw like women's intercontinental and United States championships. Hell, like even if they wanted to split the WWE women's tag championships, call me crazy, but with as many women as they're signing and as much as they need for them to do, I feel like putting them on brands like really like you're saying, Pierce, like just hard line defining the brand split and trying to put out more PLEs, more specials in between the big ones. What they talk about cutting down on production in order to accommodate more people, more seating. I mean, with as many people as are demanding these shows and as many people as are willing to go, I feel like it would be a smart move to really say like, well, okay, here's a Raw show, here's a SmackDown show. Really make them like pack both rosters. Like make sure you have enough star power because SmackDown right now, I feel like I've said it has been, the Bloodline show featuring Cody Rhodes. So I mean, get guys like Theory in the mix, kind of boost him up, get LA Knight more feature, get the women, pump up the smoke under the women, and kind of just really push the WWE women's title to mean, so much more than it even is right now with Bayley being the champion. And I mean, just really just go all out with it. And I feel like they could sell out brand exclusive PLEs just as well as they're doing now. I feel like people could get used to the notion that you have exclusive superstars on exclusive shows again. And you got to kind of,
if they're having the fucking draft, do the full brand split.
Agreed.
That's my
100%. 100%. And they can do it, and they can make it matter.
They 100% can do it, and especially now that they're PLEs and not pay-per-views where they have to worry about points.
Mm-hmm.
I think they're just wasting money by continually having 5-match cards when they have so much talent right now.
I agree.
Well, it's smart that they're expanding SummerSlam. We're about to talk about here that they're expanding it into 2 nights starting. What's it, next year or 2 years from now?
2 years.
2 years.
Yeah. Doesn't mean
starting with the Minneapolis one.
Yep, that is the Minneapolis, Minnesota one.
Mm.
Yeah, I think it's a good call. I mean, there's just a lot of people sitting on the sidelines. Like I would have assumed that you would have had women's tag match, considering there's only one set of titles, there'd be some relevance to that. Or you got the Wyatt Six and the Gables, where now they're just kind of doing it on Raw after, and it's not even, I don't know. It's definitely not a priority for them. You can kind of tell by their booking and where they're positioning these matches. And it's a shame for those people that are really invested into that kind of content. And it's a shame for those wrestlers that, like, that's their role, right? Like DIY has had one title defense. They're not having a title defense this week. Oh no, they are having a title defense this weekend, right? On Friday against the Bootleg Bloodline.
Is that when it is?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's this
Yeah, they're
Friday,
facing.
right?
Yeah, it's Tama and Jacob Fatu.
Yeah.
Rip DIY.
Yeah. We'll pour one out for them right now.
Oh.
Yeah, pour it right down my throat.
In fucking Johnny's backyard.
Somewhat. I mean, I don't think there's many people that are going to be getting the hometown rub this weekend, but we'll get into that in a little bit. You guys ready to talk about the matches?
Let's do it.
All right, let's start off with a big one that we led into this. It's the only non-title match of the night, and that is CM Punk versus Drew McIntyre with Seth freaking Rollins as the special guest referee. There's been a great build into this match. This build has been happening since the Royal Rumble, since Punk got injured. Drew McIntyre carried a significant portion of this feud. And now finally, CM Punk is cleared, ready to go after screwing Drew multiple times. And they're going to have a match, and they're bringing it back to the SummerSlam 1997 of Bret Hart versus The Undertaker and Shawn Michaels being the special guest referee. We got Seth Rollins, who, as I mentioned after Money in the Bank when he lost, he has nothing to do outside of this feud. So, yeah, sure, why not get him involved and make him the special guest referee for this one?
It's really been them three since WrestleMania. Punk was on commentary and caused Drew to... Well, Drew kind of, he could have walked away with the title, but he decided to get cocky, and that's how Drew lost the title. And then Seth was in Money in the Bank. Drew cashes in, and CM Punk comes in and screws Drew again. So Seth's been there, you could say, in the background, but he's been there for most of the big parts of it,
Yep, it's true. Any thoughts on how this match is going to go down?
Are we doing straight predictions right away?
Yeah, you can go predictions / results of the predictions kind of thing. It doesn't have to be a straight up who I think is going to win, who you think is going to win.
I mean, it's Seth Rollins' rules, right? So it's going to be chaotic. I feel like it's not going to necessarily be. I mean, it's probably going to be around the level of like Bloodline rules chaotic, in that you're going to see a lot of shit that's just going to be swept under the rug. You're going to see a lot of hijinks from Seth. And I mean, it's going to give Seth feature, right? It's not all about Punk and McIntyre in this match. Seth is definitely going to steal a lot of spotlight in this, just being the ref. And I think it's definitely going to set him up, and it's going to set his place at the table in this feud, leading up to what I think is probably going to be Bad Blood, because they got to have something big to bring that back. And I think, honestly, given the name of the show and given the length of time it is away, I feel like given like 2 extra months, you could easily factor Rollins into the McIntyre Punk feud. I think there's going to be a lot of heat building in this match that's going to really set Seth apart, and it's really going to, like I said, I think it's going to make him a key player. He's going to have a key role in this feud. It'll be interesting to see how it unwinds and how it's going to factor into people rumoring a potential heel turn for him. And I mean, it really could go either way. Like I could easily see him as a big face coming out of this. I prefer to see him as a big heel coming out of this. I don't know how it all unfolds, because you could also argue between Punk and Drew, who's right and who's wrong in context too. It's fun. I love this feud. I think this is some of the best stuff that you'll see in pro wrestling this year or any year, personally. And it just kind of it happens so organically, and it's it's the stuff that, I don't want to be cliche too much because I'm kind of rambling and I'm losing my train of thought here, but it's the stuff dreams are made of, boys. It's the stuff that, you hope to see on a weekly wrestling show at the big PLEs, the big payoffs, the big feuds,
And it
the
doesn't need a
blood
title.
feuds.
It's a story driven build that's been going on for months that was stemmed out of an unfortunate happening to CM Punk, and it doesn't even need the title, and it's great. The fans are loving it. So big home run in this feud so far. I just got to throw out a prediction now. I think Drew McIntyre is going to win. I think Drew McIntyre's taken enough losses recently that he will win, probably with the unintentional or intentional help of Seth Rollins, which I don't really get why Seth Rollins doesn't like Drew McIntyre that much. Like, I know they're saying, like, oh, I hate you and I hate you and blah, blah, blah. But it's like their feud was relatively tame in comparison to where CM Punk is with either of these guys. So I
Professional
think,
rivalry,
yeah, I think Drew
They're both
wins. I think Seth obviously gets involved, and I would like to see, that you're talking about a culmination. Let's get a triple threat Hell in a Cell match. I don't know why it's got
okay.
to, like, let's do something a little bit different. I don't think you're ever going to get a spot where these guys are going to get along with any one of them. So there's got
And
to be a triple threat at some point.
It's been a long time since we've had a multi-man Hell in a Cell too. So I feel like if we're gonna go with bad blood again, if we're gonna blow off this feud, I feel like, yeah, I agree, Donnie. Go balls out with it. Bring the Hell in a Cell back. This is the kind of thing you bring it back for. People that complained when it was a regular PLE that you're diminishing the value of the match. People aren't trying to see Hell in a Cell anymore. But this match, this feud is tailor made for that environment.
Well, it was, they diminished it with the PLE, and then there was just a string of ones that had non-finishes, which don't make sense. So, Hell in a Cell has earned its break, and when it comes back, it should be bigger than what it was, because they did ruin it. As for my thoughts on it, there is no reason for Punk to win. Punk has screwed Drew at every single corner since this feud began. I've spoke in the past that Drew as the hypocrite has been one of my favorite characters of the year, and then you have somebody like Punk who went on the mic. There's not really many people in the history of wrestling that can touch him. That might be an episode for another day, or top promos of all time. But
We'll get a good speech at some point down the road. Good speech.
Yeah. Fine speech.
Sorry. Fine speech. My bad.
And now I think Rollins plays into the finish. Maybe Rollins pisses Punk off enough to get it hit with a GTS, and you see a Claymore from Drew. New ref comes in 1, 2, 3. You could see, maybe they do call back to 97 SummerSlam, and Seth tries to hit Drew with a chair, and he hits Punk. Yeah, there are a lot of ways this can go. I think the only way Punk wins is if he hits Drew with a Pepsi plunge. I don't know if we'll ever see that on WWE TV, but I think that's the only way that Punk wins. I would like to see it.
I was going to say, how many pedigrees did we have in the WrestleMania Night 1? You got DIY hitting pedigrees. You got Rhodes and Rollins hitting pedigrees. I feel like it's not too out of question, especially considering, Punk's and his previous dynamic.
Though.
It's a top rope pedigree.
Yeah, that's what makes it different. It's
right. It's two turnbuckles up. Right. It's special. Well, yeah, and it's special. Right. It's like the brain buster. It's something you break out in when it really matters, when it really counts. And if you see it at SummerSlam or if you see it at Bad Blood, I think we'll see it. I think you get your wish for sure. But it's going to be a special moment for sure. It's going to be like one of those watershed moments in Punk's time in WWE where, like, he's here and he's here to stay. Not like we haven't already gotten that with the sheets and everything with him and his contract negotiations. But I mean, it'll be like we're all saying, like it'll be really interesting to see what gets brought out with these series of matches because it's not going to end with this one. There's absolutely no way.
I would
No.
say the only way that Punk doesn't lose on Saturday is if Seth DQs them both.
And that'd be lame.
It would be, but
Could you imagine the shit show? Probably more
That'd
online than
literally be-
anything, but
That's Vince booking. This is a blood feud. I hope we see a little bit of color.
I gotta say that for
Doesn't
Cody.
we
matter.
absolutely will.
Doesn't matter who gets it. Shit, they could put it on Seth. That'd be entertaining. Seeing
That's why he
the
DQs
ref
them
get
both.
color. And if that happens, Donnie, I'm gonna fly up to Canada. I'm gonna kick you in the ass. I'll give you two because Brandon can't come yet.
Yeah, put on a shoe for me there.
All right, so we're calling Drew. I think we all consensus agree. Drew McIntyre should beat CM Punk.
In round one, yeah, I'd say so.
Yep.
All right.
There'll be shenanigans for sure, but yes, I see Drew coming out.
All right. Let's move on into for the Intercontinental Championship, a rematch of Money in the Bank. Sami Zayn versus Braun Breaker.
Still should be a triple threat. I'm firm on that. They missed the opportunity with this one.
They did.
Braun
I
killed
would
Ilya.
agree.
I mean, and now with the news of Rick Steiner,
die.
right? It's one of those matches where it's like, I mean, it was well enough known that with Braun getting a rematch, it was likely he was going to win, and especially at Summerslam, which is a big PLE, and they're going to want to crown a new guy at some point in the PLE, and Braun's definitely someone who WWE has been touting for a very long time, and definitely through the moves being made to bring him on Raw for Netflix. Like it's clear that they're going to blow so much smoke up this dude, and I mean this like in the best possible way. Like maybe blowing smoke is not the best analogy. They're lighting a huge fire under him. They're going to shoot him to the moon for sure.
The rocket to him.
Strap the rocket to him, boys.
Blowing smoke up his ass is.
Yeah, I corrected myself there. Yeah,
if you light a fire, if you light a fire or strap a rocket to him, smoke will probably end up in his ass. So
yeah, something's going up his ass. But I mean, it's one of those things where like I personally, if we're going to cut to prediction, Braun 100%, especially when you have factor in the fact that Rick is going to be in attendance as well. And I mean, when was the last time Rick Steiner was in attendance? It was when Braun won the NXT championship, right? So we're kind of painting ourselves in a corner with that one. But I don't know. I felt like the story was there, and I feel like Ilya deserves more than what he's been getting on the main roster thus far. I mean, he's been showing his toughness to a degree, but he's been on the losing end of a lot of things. And honestly, like Ilya could have fought his way into this, made it a triple threat. We could have seen the three who beat Gunther for the one championship that he made relevant in his time in the main roster at WWE. And they could have had a triple threat worthy of being in the same tier as the triple threat that, ironically enough, coincidentally enough, rather Gunther had at WrestleMania back, 2 years ago with Sheamus and Drew for the Intercontinental Championship. I think it could have been a barn burner with Ilya, Braun, and Sami.
If you do that, then Ilya is probably the one that takes the pin, at which point you have to run it back again, and it's like...
I would... Not necessarily, because I figure like this. It could go that Ilya would get a strong showing in, obviously, putting himself over, showing people that he can hang with the big boys. And then Braun capitalizes. Like you see, like how quick Braun spears a motherfucker. Like Ilya could do the work on Sami. Braun runs in after Ilya's done all the work, spears the hell out of Ilya, throws Ilya out of the ring, spears the hell out of Sami, pins Sami 1, 2, 3. So it wouldn't have to be a complete loss on Ilya's part. Like Ilya could do a lot of the work in my dream booking situation, and then Braun could still pick up the win and still look strong. But then Ilya could also look strong too, which gives Ilya validity in pursuing the Intercontinental Championship further. So you have potentially like you can work up to a decent one-on-one match with Ilya and Braun in spite of their showings on Raw recently. Kind of like how, Sami Zayn, thinking about his WrestleMania build, like he's kind of the underdog coming up. You could kind of think of Ilya in the same respect. You know, oddly enough, you have the underdog Russian coming up against this big, loud, strong, boisterous American, but I feel like there's still potential with Ilya being thrown into the mix. He doesn't have to come out a complete loser in it.
I
But
think
that's just me, though. I don't know.
Ilya's going to have his time.
I get what you're saying.
I think Ilya's going to have his time. I mean, we can't expect every guy that, no matter how good he is, and he's very good, but you can't
absolutely.
have every guy come from NXT and immediately get top billing in that sense, right? So I like that they're pushing Braun while being a little bit more patient with Ilya. And Ilya's going to get his time. He's too good not to get his time. An inevitable match with Gunther is coming, and that is really going to be his moment to come out. And it's probably going to happen sooner than you think, depending on what your opinion is with what happens later on in the show. But he'll get his time. I think Braun is an obvious winner for this match. Sami really looks like he could be someone who pivots into some bloodline related content, with him being back with Jay as often as he has been. We don't know exactly what that's going to end up looking like, but we'll talk about that a little bit later. But Sami doesn't have a hope in winning. Decent reign, not the reign that everybody really wanted at the time, but he's a good guy to hand it off to Braun and let him just destroy more mid-carders for the next few months.
And Braun said it too. Like, Sami, frankly, is above the Intercontinental Championship. And yeah, like, he had a good run if you're talking about he went over 100 days with it. But, I mean, I've said it before too. Like, I feel like Sami could and should have been in, like, the Money in the Bank picture. I feel like he was just as valid as anybody to win the thing this year. I feel like Sami should be chasing world titles, if not winning them by now. And Sami's kind of throwing that notion out there too, saying, like, people need to stop looking at me like I'm the clown, like I'm the underdog, like I'm somebody who people need to rally behind in order to get things done. Sami's like, I'm the champion. And that's a mentality that going forward, I'm hoping, getting past the Intercontinental Championship, I agree with you. I think he's going to get detoured into some bloodline stuff because, you can only have, so many Samoans, Tongans coming through before you got to start calling for a backup, right? On the opposite side of the solo. But I feel like once that's out of the way, I feel like Sami really should be in world title conversation for sure.
I'll segue off that. I agree. Braun should beat him. Let Sami be Gunther's spoiler first challenger when he wins the world title. He's the last person to beat him. I think that story writes itself.
Assuming he wins it.
Assuming he wins it. But Braun should SummerSlam 89, SummerSlam 2014, whatever the fuck you want to call it, win that title in that fashion. It does not matter. Murder him with the spear him out of his boots, however you want to say it. Braun should beat him within 5 minutes. I think the whole way that Sami Zayn's character works is if he gets you into some deep water, you will lose. He will come back. He will find a way to win. And that's how he beat Gunther. That's how he beat Braun the first time. That's how he's beat Chad Gable in this reign. They all took him past, the 10-minute mark. And then Sami found a way to win.
Yeah.
Not here. Beat him in 5 minutes. If Braun loses two PLEs in a row clean, it's about as damaging as it can get for his character of the Destroyer.
Yeah, it's not going to happen. I think this is the most likely, easy to predict title change by a considerable margin.
There's
next
one
to
that I think is just as easy.
the other mid card title reign, I would say. I think the mid card title reigns are going to be short and sweet, but I think they're definitely going to be changing hands at SummerSlam. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut off if we were going to flow in a different direction with that.
I think it's a good segue. Let's just talk about it. Logan Paul defends the United States Championship against LA Knight.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's my prediction.
Yeah. Yeah. So.
Yeah.
Again, I guess you're right. Another pretty much foregone conclusion. Logan Paul has not been a good United States champion, despite his
2 defenses in 250 days.
Yeah, his title defenses have been good. The problem is they haven't been enough for a mid card title. It's done nothing to help anybody get the belt off of him. LA Knight, I think he probably got that match against Roman a little too soon. Didn't deserve to be in the main title match last year at Crown Jewel. I think this is the sweet spot for him. Give him the win, and let's have a champion actually defend some titles on SmackDown.
Yeah, LA Knight is definitely long overdue for a title reign. And I mean, I'll agree. I'll disagree with you a little bit on there, Donnie. I feel like he fit within a world title picture. I mean, admittedly, should he have gone with a U.S. title reign first? Yeah, absolutely. But I think I mean, even with, and I've said too, he's kind of like a Rock light, and even with the Rock being there, in and out, I mean, LA Knight still, I feel like I thought with The Rock coming back, LA Knight was going to lose a lot of his swagger. He was going to lose a lot of what made him, a draw for the fans. But I feel like as much as he's ever been, LA Knight is ready for titles. And I feel like perfect, get the U.S. title off of Logan Paul, agree with him or not agree with him. Like I said in the beginning of the show, now he's been opening his mouth and he's been making statements that probably will, turn the wrong heads, raise the wrong eyebrows with people. I mean, right, Bischoff said it, controversy creates cash, right? But WWE has been a pretty strong, at least within recent years, has been a pretty public relations friendly company.
Cash that you scam from your fans.
Yeah, Pat McAfee said the same stuff, so you can't really take down one without taking down both. I don't see them doing anything to Pat, so.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, I hadn't actually known that Pat said anything about it. I guess that must have just slipped under my radar, but
it was
Pat
on the
was
show today.
In the same boat as Logan did.
Yeah, not quite as extreme as what Logan said, but definitely
not pure evil.
Yeah, definitely not the most inclusive opinion on it. I'll just to put it nicely. So, I mean, it wasn't as scathing as Logan. Logan walked back. I mean, it was a very half-assed walking back, and I don't want to get into that too much, but he did.
Yeah, that's a different podcast.
Yeah, but
he half-assed an apology. You're kidding.
Yeah,
he's not known to do that.
Yeah, well, regardless, I don't think you can take one off without taking off the other, and I don't see them doing anything to Pat. So,
yeah. I mean, right? Like at the end of the day,
on TV for a bit. I don't know. Maybe he has another boxing match coming up. He hasn't had one this year. He probably wants to make some extra boxing money. So,
well, that's just it too. Logan Paul's got his fingers in so many pies, anyways. Like he's a guy who I feel like, besides just getting the money guaranteed to him and just being able to basically say "fuck it, I can do what I want" and just park his ass at home with the U.S. title, kind of like Brock did with the Universal title. Or like Roman with the Universal title for that matter too. But I mean, right, with Logan, it sucks too because he's had flashes of brilliance where you could see the potential in him, and for someone who's had his minimal exposure and his minimal, feature within a wrestling ring, he's actually shown that he can hang to a degree. But yeah, no, I feel like with everything that's been going on and with people, clamoring for the U.S. Championship to come back, which is crazy to think about too. But I mean, right, it's time, and it's time to put something on LA Knight. He's been working too damn hard, and he's been getting himself over in spite of like I said, comparisons to The Rock now, especially if The Rock's back.
Top three.
Give the man his flowers.
Top three face in the company, and he might not even be three. He might be two. depending on who you ask, he could be
Right.
one, right? Like, but he's definitely top 3.
Merch sales are very strong.
So
He's making a brand
Right.
for himself.
I'm gonna bring it back a little bit to what you said about Brock and Roman. The reason that Paul got the U.S. title is because he will bring in casual viewers.
Absolutely.
And that's what the Vince WWE cared about more. But to play devil's advocate, at least with Brock and Roman, they could bring in older wrestling fans. Like, oh, I remember them. They're still in it. They're champion. Cool. They're not going to give a shit about Logan Paul. I've very much been on the hate Logan Paul train because the dude is the definition of a sleazeball. Put the title on LA Knight, BFT 1-2-3, simple as that. Have him do a Cena-esque Open Challenge because the belt has been on SmackDown like 7 times this year, maybe. And then have him hold it. Get a little prestige back, hold it for a bit, have him lose it to Carmelo Hayes or somebody like that. There is not a single. Stop it! They're not bringing this back.
we gotta cap off that face turn somehow, Pierce.
Oh my!
It's
God.
coming. You know that's coming too. That's a slight
Can we go
detour,
one
but
show without the huge Austin Theory fandom? My goodness, it's a face against a face. That's not
Donnie.
You started. You started, Donnie.
Light the rocket. Shoot him to the moon.
Oh God!
You heard it here first. It's an Ope-Eh exclusive. Austin Theory, U.S. champ.
He talked shit to me at Mania. It was funny, but his ceiling is tag titles to me. If he can bring it back past that, great. If he doesn't, great.
He's
not
beating LA Knight as a face for that U.S. title. That's not going to happen.
You don't think so?
No face versus face with Theory going over LA Knight.
Well, no, LA Knight would be the heel, boys. LA Knight can make just as good. A likable heel, but a heel nonetheless. I'm just saying, there's potential there, boys.
He could be a heel after he loses the title, but
I got one answer for you. No.
Nah.
Never.
That's right. LA Knight would say, nah. There you go.
Get out. Oh, wait, he'd also say, get out of here, dummy.
Yeah, the dummy button.
You say this now. We'll see who's laughing by December 31st there, boys.
I will bet you $100 that it does not happen. I'll put that down on podcast. I'll put $100 on it.
I'll give you 3-1 odds. Right. I'm so confident that it's not going to happen.
I'll be keeping my eyes on that Venmo.
Is that 3-1 American or Canadian?
Yeah, I mean, it depends on all of your, PayPal fees and stuff like that, right? But
send it in the mail.
Oh God! All right, let's move on.
I've never had a Canadian hundo before.
Can't wait. We all kind of think LA Knight's gonna win. So far, we're all calling the same things here, which are kind of all the predictable things. So let's get the last real predictable match. Probably, maybe this one isn't so predictable. Let's go into the women's side. Let's talk about Bayley defending the WWE Women's Championship against Nia Jax.
I think there's only one way that Bayley retains this title, and that's off a failed Tiffany Stratton cash in. Not her actually cashing in and failing, but the distraction of Nia. They start, bickering at each other. Quick roll up 1, 2, 3. I think Nia, when she came back, I don't think anybody wanted her to come back. You guys can have your thoughts on that. I don't think people were even remotely okay with that because
not even at a Royal Rumble debut before she came back full time.
When they botched her fucking entrance, fucking had the music play at 3. Oh boy!
Yeah, that threw me back. Yeah, a lot of production botches this year.
But I don't think she was seen as somebody that anybody wanted back because of botches. She was hurting. She was legitimately hurting people. But since she's come back, she has stepped up her game and has shown why she should have been brought back. And while Bailey's championship win at Mania was great. The actual run has been super underwhelming, which for the WWE Women's title has been the status quo since it became the WWE Women's title. And hopefully Nia can bring a little prestige, let her have a monster run with the title. Don't think Tiffany Stratton cashes in. They can tease it if they want, but unless they're planning a Nia face run, which, for fuck's sake, no. Let
Well,
Tiffany
who's to
hold
say
on to the
that the cash?
briefcase.
Who's to say
Go ahead,
Nia's
buddy.
got to be the face coming? No, I was gonna say who's got to say that Nia's got to be the face coming out of that though. Like Tiffany could definitely. There could be a face turn for Tiff if she finally, gets. I mean, it's predictable as all hell, and it's unfortunate that I think that's going to be the likely outcome. But Tiff could definitely come out smelling like a garden of roses with a face turn, a hard face turn. Beating Nia Jax if that's the direction they decide to go, which I feel is more than likely.
I don't. I think you are right, but I don't think it should happen here.
There's not enough
Let
Oh no,
heels. There's not enough heels in that women's division right now to move her as to a face right now. I don't think.
let
well, and
let
right,
the feud bubble.
agree.
got
Well,
you
and
got
they've made comment already on how short each of the women's Money in the Bank reigns have been. So this is, I feel like that's kind of their disclaimer saying we're going to take this out a little bit, and I hope they do. I hope they take it out and they can
So,
milk it for as long as it makes sense. But
so to go with that, Carmella has the longest reign ever with the Money in the Bank briefcase. After that, it's one day, within a day, within a day, one day, and then Io Sky had it for a month. So
they need to build some. They need to build some intrigue with the women's Money in the Bank. I feel like it's been very much like a back burner. Like, oh, this exists. Oh, it's a thing. But and right, and it sucks too.
a senile old man was booking and was not really in the position to be booking.
No. Well, and like let's be real here too. Like you have a bona fide star, and anybody I think will tell you the same in Tiffany Stratton. Like she is the second coming of Trish Stratus. They kind of did a little wink, wink, nudge, nudge to that too with their little backstage segment after Trish came back to host Money in the Bank. I feel like she's got all the tools to be very successful for as long as she wants to be in WWE. But right, like if you're gonna just completely screw the pooch and have her cash in with anything shorter than a 2 month, time or 3 month time with the briefcase, I feel like you're doing her career in general like a massive disservice. And again, it sucks that we're kind of doing the most predictable outcome in Nia Jax winning the women's championship from Bailey, in Nia Jax holding the belt, and then Tiffany kind of hanging out in the shadows. But at this point, like they've committed to at some point making Tiffany the champ, and I hope that they make it so that like it was with Damian Priest or with Seth Rollins, like where when they cash in, that they've been made a star at that point. I mean, like I've said in the past too, I didn't think Tiffany necessarily needed the Money in the Bank. I think that there are other vehicles that they could have utilized to make her. She could have gone and been a world champion without Money in the Bank, without Royal Rumble, Queen of the Ring, etc. But this is what they went with, so I'm just hoping they make it good for her. I'm hoping they make it stand out among the growing longer list of female Money in the Bank winners.
Okay, well, I have an alternative, and I know you guys are gonna love my alternative after my opinion on the double DQ. How about, we have the cash in attempt. Tiffany tries to cash in. She fails, gets botched. She doesn't have to necessarily lose the briefcase, but causes Nia the match, and Bailey wins. And then we have the return of somebody who is probably healthy by now because she's been in the performance center doing her ring work and would be a nice transitional champion to take the belt off of Bailey before Tiffany beats her in a more high profile
Oh,
match.
stop it. Stop it.
Come on, just
Charlotte
not
Flair
kidding.
is not winning that
Oh, no.
belt.
God. Well, I mean, she is. Like, let's be real. It makes me want to peel my skin off thinking about it, but there's 2 new belts for her to win, and there's 2 reigns away from her tying her father. So let's be real. It's one and then the other. And it's going to suck.
All hail the queen.
Thank God I'm drinking it. Thank God I'm drinking this episode.
She's coming, man. She's coming after this. After SummerSlam, she's probably going to be back right on the SmackDown after SummerSlam, and just let's cook up another title reign for her, boys. Charlotte Flair,
Yeah.
next women's champion. Book it.
And what does your hometown boy say? Ryan Reynolds, Donnie? I'd rather make a glory hole in a piranha tank. Another Charlotte Flair title reign. Oh, Jesus.
No, I think Nia's going to win. I think she has the best named finisher in wrestling right now, the Annihilator. It's fantastic. Doesn't get enough respect for the move for who it is, and the name of it is bang on. Best finisher name in the business, and yeah, she's gonna win. And I don't think Tiffany's ready to hold the title right now. Honestly, like her promo work is not that great. I know when I watched the Money in the Bank post show, she had her little chat there. It was bad. Like I don't want to even say it was serviceable. She's not good on the mic. I think she needs a little bit more time there.
They did bring her up from NXT pretty quick, I thought.
I think putting the title on her is going to be a mistake if they do it this soon.
She has such a pretty moonsault.
The prettiest moonsault.
You know who she reminds me of, though?
It's the prettiest.
It is the prettiest. She said
Who's
so.
that?
No, well, Tiffany said that, but you know who she reminds me a lot of? And who I feel like didn't get enough of a stroke when they were in WWE? Dana Brooke. It's like, you remember when Dana Brooke was in NXT, like, when she was teaming with Emma, and she had all these, like, she was just, like, this weird, like, funny, like, but she was also, like, super athletic, and she was doing, like, cartwheel into her entrance, and, like, I thought she was going to be put in a similar spot that Tiffany's in now, frankly. Maybe just slightly before her time, but, like, I feel like now that I think about it, Dana Brooke and Tiffany Stratton do have a lot of their own similarities as well.
Good point. Dana really never went over the hump like Tiffany did.
No, but she had all the same tools, I feel.
Nah. She's kind of boring.
But
Dana,
Tiffany took those tools and went from the greenest green could be to an incredible worker.
She's very good. In the ring, she's very good. On the mic, she's not very good. It's too soon.
She made the best moonsault ever. Now the prettiest. She added a jump, guys.
Doesn't Kalani
She
Jordan have
added
the
a
same
jump.
finisher, essentially? She does like a split-legged moonsault.
Well, it's called One of a Kind, so it's in the ode to RVD.
Yeah.
Because that was RVD doing the split-legged for a long time.
Anyways.
But,
Man, we're green on all of these. Nia Jax, everyone thinks is going to win, yeah?
yeah.
Okay.
Correcto.
All right, let's move on. Liv Morgan defends the Women's World Championship against Rhea Ripley. This is our other very well story-driven feud that we've got going on right now. Again, been cooking for a while, since last year, technically speaking. And we've had basically every form of emotions going through these women, mostly because of Dominic Mysterio. But now they get their one-on-one match.
In Spanish-speaking countries, you could call it a telenovela.
Yes, very telenovela. That's true. Who do we got? How do we feel about this match?
I'm still pissed this isn't a fucking ladder match.
You mean you're mad it's not Dominic on a ladder match? Or Dominic in a shark cage match or something like that.
Dominic on a
custody of Dominic's heart.
Dominic on a pole. Yes.
I'm telling you. Well,
it was right there.
This is
right there.
This is more than a one-match feud. It's more than a one-match feud, Pierce. You may get your wish yet.
But it was SummerSlam that the original custody of Dominic ladder match happened.
This is true.
Almost 20 years to the event.
I actually
It was
watched that
right
recap.
there.
I watched that recap the other day of that feud. There was some crazy shit going on. Also, didn't know Eddie Guerrero had herpes until I saw that. They zoomed in right on the corner of his mouth. I'm like, wow, look at that. I mean, he's Latino heat for sure, but damn.
Awful.
I don't know.
Rest in
Sorry,
peace to Eddie Guerrero. Top 5
fact.
wrestler ever.
Not
I'll
to
die on that
disparage the
hill.
man at all. Yeah, oh no, Eddie Guerrero was, God, so many good matches we could have got out of Eddie if he were still around, but a digression. That's another podcast. But no, and I mean, Liv and Dom, or rather, Liv and Rhea is going to be, I feel like, a bad blood blow off as well. I feel like this is the start. I feel like Rhea does not take the title back her first match back. No way.
She can't. It'll screw
I feel like
Liv over completely.
There's going to be more Dom shenanigans in this. He's going to be ringside. Something's going to happen, like it's been trending. And Dom's going to be complicit in all of this, and there's going to be a lot of eyebrows raised. There's going to be intrigue. It's going to be a little bit of spice.
Intentional or
Still can't believe
unintentional
Dom. Unintentional completely. But
yeah, I say unintentional too.
I agree. I think unintentional on this one. Let it build the intrigue a little bit more. Get the rift in there a little bit more. Because he did the whole thing where he basically ripped Liv a new asshole and just totally just said, I want nothing to do with you. So you could always
not in the way that Liv wanted.
Yeah. Well, come on, guys. That's not very PG. But
she's throwing out some cues. I'm just saying. Anyway.
It's enough to throw them off the track of them being in cahoots.
They're cahooting.
Oh God,
they're cahooting all over the place.
Are they cahooting? I mean, they were pretty close to cahooting, but I don't know if they're cahooting. Not full
Finn
cahooting.
did take the hotel key, so Finn could.
Yeah, they never expanded on that.
Finn was in her car that one time when they were coming out from the parking lot area. A lot of it kind of aligned to Finn being the whole mastermind associated.
Dom both fumbled a woman and unfumbled a woman that 95% of wrestling fans salivate over within a 5-minute span.
And then he's going to fumble again. So
shout out to Dominic Mysterio, you fucking Lothario.
Yeah, Sussio's going to be all by himself. He's going to be a solo act by the time this is all done. I feel like this is one more chapter being written in the slow but eventual dissolution of the Judgment Day. I feel like with Damian and his world title run, there's already been those cracks been forming between him and the group in general, but also between him and Finn in particular. I feel like what's going on
here. I feel like wasn't that whole discussion when they gave. I know it's going to happen eventually, but we were talking about us, because we didn't know each other then. But when JD McDonough gave Damian Priest the Senior Money in the Bank briefcase, everyone's like, "Oh, it's an empty briefcase. There's no contract in there. They're going to screw him over, and he's going to be out of Judgment Day." And it's like that was over a year ago.
Yeah, it's been on shaky ground for a while, but I feel like more than ever, there have been a lot of clues to say this is finally gradually going to be it. And especially with the Wyatt Six being introduced, and especially with them somehow still trying to get the Final Testament over, there's all these groups that exist, and the Judgment Day for, what people thought it was going to be has been really a strong foundational piece as far as, your stable picture goes on Raw. But I mean, when you have Dominic, they're trying to obviously build some character with him with this storyline, and with Rhea, obviously, she's, in my opinion, she's bigger than the Judgment Day. This is going to lead to her eventually separating from Dom. This is going to lead to her separating from the group in general, or at least distancing herself. And then with Damian too, Damian is, and we'll talk about him later, but he's on a mission to prove himself and to separate himself from everybody else to make himself distinguished. I don't know what you're going to do. Well, I feel like you're going to have Finn and JD still sticking together.
They're going to be tag champs for a bit.
Yeah, I agree. I think Finn's going to help develop JD into something really good too, to a point where when he eventually stands alone, he's going to be a made man. What they're going to do with Carlito, I don't know. Personally, I think Carlito's another one who, he can still go. Like got, he's still got it for the business. He's still got it for the WWE in particular. So like, it's, you look at guys like AJ, you look at guys like Carlito, you look at guys like Finn, like guys who, and it's crazy, like kind of as a mild tangent, but these guys who are like in their 40s now and they're performing as well, if not better, than they were doing in their 30s in some
Give him
cases.
back his
So,
OG
like,
music. Give him back
No,
his OG
uh,
music. That's all I
you're not
want.
ever going to do that.
no, that he's past that now. That was like little punk kid walking around the beaches kind of theme. Carlito's a
Yeah, but it's
mature,
still
sensible individual now.
That's not what Def
he's
Rebel
still
will break
spitting
you
in
of.
the face of people who do not want to be cool, Brandon.
Yeah, he did. He's a grown man now. You see the beard. You see how long his beard is now. He's a changed man. He's clearly very
He had
mature,
a beard back in the day.
but it's longer now. And with length of
Just give
beard
him his music
comes
back.
wisdom.
All right,
I
we
don't.
have
I don't
not
think it's
talked
coming back.
about too much about who's going to win this match. Do we think Liv or Rhea? So Liv, Rhea, what do we got?
Live.
Liv?
I got Liv. Revenge tour is alive and well. I think this is where the Dom heel. I don't know how you can turn heel as a heel. I mean, Kevin Owens did it during the KO and Jericho thing,
The
Festival of Friendship.
Yeah.
I think
If
this is
anything,
where Dom turns heel.
it's the heel move that turns the other heel face. Like that's kind of more.
I think this is my thoughts on how the match finishes. You guys can have your own opinions. I think he's gonna trip her up or bump her. It's gonna look accidental, causing Rhea to like turn around. She turns around again because she's on the ropes. Bam, Oblivion, 1, 2, 3. Dom's freaking out, and then Liv kind of smiles, and then they kiss in the middle of the ring. And Liv can then, maybe they don't break up the Judgment Day. Maybe you have Liv take over the Judgment Day.
But she destroyed the clubhouse.
I mean,
I
yeah,
mean, I
but
guess
she
you
did
gotta.
buy him a PS5,
But
and
you
that was
think
pretty.
maybe it was Dominic who destroyed the clubhouse. You never know.
Be one of WWE's great mysteries, like who threw the pie at Kevin Owens, or
Probably Sami Zayn. Let's be honest.
Yeah, I don't know if they're gonna have the actual like. I definitely think Dom is gonna interfere, not to Rhea's benefit, whether that's just through just sheer stupidity or some actual physical interference. But I don't know if they're gonna actually have the full fledged makeout session post match. I feel like that's actually doing the heel turn moment that would be in the last match if you have Liv still winning that. I don't know. I don't know. I guess it partly depends on what the end result is here. If the end result is Rhea eventually becoming champion again, then sure, you probably pull the trigger on it now. But if the end result is Liv maintaining and retaining the title at the end of the feud, then you could probably wait and ride it out a little bit longer.
I think Rhea gets her title back eventually, and that's why I think the Liv Dominic romance starts.
Okay.
Even though Carlito did point out that it was starting because something was hard. Shout out to fucking Carlito for him in this story. He's been so fucking funny.
Yeah. He's slotted into that R-Truth role quite well in Judgment Day.
It's very much the drunk uncle at the family outing, like just saying stuff.
Yep.
And
he has
fits
great
that
one-liners. Great one-liners. I don't know.
Okay.
I don't know if there's even going to be any romance, though. I feel like I said, I feel like Dom comes out alone. I don't know if there's any romance going forward with either. But
We'll see.
We'll see, though. I guess, yeah.
It could be romance for the spot, for the moment, and then subsequent Raw. She's just like, yeah, I don't need you, bitch. The fuck out. You know.
Something like that.
Like the Edge Vicky Guerrero ending.
Yeah.
basically.
All right, we've got 2 matches left on the docket here. Let's do which match do you guys want to talk about next? You want to talk about the match that's probably going to main events, or do we want to talk about the subsequent Judgment Day match here?
Let's keep it Judgment Day,
All right,
if that's okay
so
with you, Brandon.
Oh yeah.
all right, so let's talk about Damian Priest defending the World Heavyweight Championship against Yanada.
I think right now it's Der King General.
You have to emphasize the
'Cause Der
like how
Ring.
Ludwig
Der
says it.
King General.
General.
Gotta hold that. Duh. Sorry,
Best part about
we're on the
it.
clock. Sorry. Oh, it's fantastic. Yeah, you can't call him the Kaiser, unfortunately, even though that's money made right there too. But
His
you had to
So
go
European
for
and
the people
call
who
him.
elegance.
don't know,
He's
we're
European
talking about
elegance.
Gunther.
No, we're talking about Ludwig.
Well, I'm saying that Gunther's in the match.
Oh yeah, well, that's okay. He
But you
went.
can't call Kaiser. You can't call him Kaiser Gunther because I mean, if you want to be technical about it, because you got Ludwig right there. But
What was his name before? Marcel Botel,
Marcel
or was that the
Bartel.
other guy?
Yeah, Marcel Bartel.
Marcel Bartel. Yup.
And that
Yeah.
was his name on the Independence with Ringkampf, correct?
Yep.
Yeah, so he's not getting that name back.
Mm-mm.
How come that can't be Ringkampf again? There's no reason.
Yeah,
It's okay.
they've given him the old name. No one's asking for the new, or they've given him the new name. No one's asking for his old name back. It's kind of the thing with him. It works. It's easier to sell merch with that name. Easier for people to like, oh, that's him. Like Marcel Bartel is like, doesn't sound like a good wrestling name. Ludwig Kaiser, though, I'd take a sandwich like that.
Like Lexus King just rolls off the tongue,
Yeah.
It-
and then you roll it back on your tongue.
you have a Ludwig Kaiser with one of your Tim Hortons double doubles,
Yeah, absolutely. Get extra mustard.
Canadians and you weirdos. You just say a coffee with 2 creams and 2 sugars.
No, it's a double double. That's so many extra like words. Why say 4 words when you can just say 2? Double double.
Well, I say
So when you say all dressed, how are we
That
supposed to
word
know
with a
what
few.
all is?
So it's like all the flavors of like your standard chips. It's not gonna be like all the crazy flavors. It's just your standard flavors all hodgepodged into the bag.
Yeah, but one of your standard flavors is ketchup, and that's a bit odd for most U.S. citizens.
Yeah, you guys don't know good flavors. You want 72 flavors of nacho chips and no ketchup for all dressed
Hey.
chips.
I like all dressed chips. You guys have been bogarting those from us for fucking years.
Gotta talk to Frito Lay about that.
So I've got some coming in with my snack box because they are perfect.
Hell yeah. Which brand did you get?
Let me take a look. I want to say it's Ruffles.
Ruffles is the best. So you made the right
Ruffles is the way to go.
call with Ruffles
With
over
any-
Lay's. You could have got like Old Dutch if you wanted like the true like Canadian style, but I don't think those are like okay. Ruffles all dressed and Ruffles sour cream and onion. Very good chips.
That's where the money's at.
I love how we trying to get into this Judgment Day thing, and now we're talking about Kaisers and double doubles and all dressed chips.
Ruffles all dressed.
Excellent.
It's a natural
also
transition.
have-
What are you talking about?
I also have some coffee crisps coming in because that is probably the greatest candy bar on earth.
Yeah, you're missing out, man. If when I see you guys in Vegas, I'll try and bring some stuff with me.
Oh, please.
I'll
Although I will say this, Cheezels are a bit mid.
yeah, that's fine. You can't win them all.
If you ever make a good hop across the pond there, across Lake Michigan there, Donnie will treat you to some good quality cheese curds. Little local delicacy.
Okay. Yeah, I trust
Summer
Wisconsin
shandy.
cheese curds. I mean, we got Quebec too. Quebec cheese curds are also very good. So at least we got a little hookup there. But yeah, I would imagine Wisconsin cheese curds are also excellent.
We'll get you some brats. We'll get you some summer shandy.
Give me
We'll
some
give
Ludwig
you
Kaiser.
we'll give you the tour de Wisconsin.
Dope. All right, let's get back into this match. Damian Priest, Gunther, World Heavyweight Championship.
Damian
I
Priest.
think this is the most divisive match on the card. I think this one is about as 50-50 as you can get.
That's not what everybody on the internet wants to tell you.
Yeah, well, the internet is dumb.
Okay, so Gunther
That's my
doesn't
thoughts.
win. Why doesn't Gunther win?
So, I'll give. I think he does win, but I'll give arguments to both sides.
Go ahead.
And to why he doesn't win, I think the crowning moment in Berlin would mean more. Even though Gunther is not German,
Nope.
he is Austrian.
Yep.
But right across the road.
Adjacent.
So probably got a lot of hometown fans. With his promos of calling Damien street trash and everything, it's really pushing towards a Damien babyface win.
Okay.
I think Damien, you could probably call him a babyface at this point.
Him and Rhea are like basically like we're in a heel faction, but we're basically faces.
I've really, it's been a bit underwhelming, but I've enjoyed Damien's run. I've enjoyed his character work. I think he's been a good champion. I think
he's got that new documentary coming out.
Yeah, and I'm excited to watch that. I think he's very much on the cusp of something bigger.
He hasn't won clean yet either
gonna...
as champion. Yeah, that's one thing I talked about it after Money in the Bank. He hasn't won clean yet. He needs
I think this is
one win that really gives him legitimacy to his title reign because, quite frankly, he still hasn't got it yet because he hasn't won clean at all. Thanks to CM Punk.
I think shout out to the voice of the voiceless. We'll say this. I think if he beats Gunther clean, that legitimizes everything since WrestleMania. To why he's not going to win, it's Gunther. He's lost to 3 people, and
they are not in a triple threat match for the Intercontinental title. But
no, sorry, Brandon.
I'm thinking. Sorry, I'm not gonna.
I don't think this is where the Finn turn happens. You could have it be the Finn turn. I doubt it because the whole thing about Gunther is that he is a heel, but he's a respectable heel. He doesn't like people interfering in his matches. He will play by the rules and beat the shit out of you. I think having him walk into Berlin as champion will probably mean a bit more than him winning. Well, to me, it might mean a bit more as like the homecoming king versus him winning the title at home. You could make the argument either way. I think this is about as 50-50 as you can get, but I think Gunther has the edge.
Brandon?
I'll agree with you on that. I feel like I slant a little bit more towards Damien personally because right, like with Gunther, it's him kind of fulfilling a prophecy. It's kind of him legitimizing the King of the Ring again. Because I can't remember the last time the King of the Ring, even though you've had it on and off for years, I can't remember the last time it actually meant anything of significance besides a costume change. And
Lesnar, 2002.
King Corbin. Come on.
Let's hey, yeah, and then it was bum ass Corbin, and then it was Mega Money Millions Corbin, and then Burn the Ships Corbin, and there's 5 ways I don't give a fuck about Baron Corbin, and we happen to list at least 4 of them right there.
Hey,
I liked him when he had hair.
Is
That's the
Baron
last time I
Corbin?
liked Baron Corbin.
Is the theme as Baron Corbin? Banger.
Theme is
I
burn
mean,
the ships.
sure.
Baron Corbin is still a banger too.
It's bullshit. He burned the ships, but then he got on a ship right back to SmackDown, and now he's fucking marooned with Apollo fucking Crews of all people. Go back to Ring of Honor. Yeah. Can't really do that now, but you can tag with them and do absolutely nothing with your
Yeah,
career.
you can.
But
Just go in Shane McMahon's carry on.
I mean, yeah, fair point. Have him be the Commodore or the comptroller, whatever the fuck of AEW Dynamite.
Stop it! No, stop it! Oh my god!
Only after
Do
he
you
gets
want to talk about?
Only after he gets
decimate another legendary career. Bryan Danielson has his last match ever with Baron Corbin. Put it on the card, boys. 2 legendary technicians that Baron Corbin's retired.
It's perfect.
To go get another fucking beer.
That's the seller, boys. That's what puts the asses in the seats.
Baron Corbin ending careers.
Back to Gunther and Damian Priest, though. I mean, right. So like I say, so Gunther gives actual legitimacy back to the King of the Ring, and going forward, we set the standard that the King of the Ring winner is a threat to the World Heavyweight Championship or the WWE Championship, depending. I mean, right, like we said, Gunther's lost to what, 3 whole people on the main roster, or even back in NXT UK, because I don't think Tyler Bate beat him.
Nope.
In spite of how big he got.
Only Ilya.
Ilya, Braun, and Sammy, eh?
Yeah, Ilya was the only one who beat him in NXT UK.
Who pinned him in the not to get too far off track, but who pinned him in that Survivor Series match? Because he was for Team NXT, right? Somebody pinned him. Was that Roman?
Those don't count. Like he's lost like 6-way matches. Didn't they lose? They lost to who the hell did they lose to? They lost
and a good old fashioned Donnybrook.
Donnybrook, thank you. The Donnybrook. How do I not remember that? Yeah, they lost to the Brawling Brutes too. So I don't count those as far as losses. But yeah, he's been pinned in matches like that. But
yeah, I mean, in this case, I feel right. So there's a good chance he wins, and then you're saying, Pierce, walk into Berlin as champion. Granted, he said he was going to march into Austria, which if they tour Austria while they're going to Germany, he can fulfill that prophecy in saying he's going to come back to Austria as a world champion.
Can he wear that much? I could see them. Can he have the crown?
I fucking hope so.
I want to see him with the crown. You are the king. Wear the goddamn crown.
I know.
Okay.
But it's so in character for Gunther though to not take up the regalities and just be like, okay, I'm coming for your title. I'm gonna beat your ass, and you're street trash. That's all very Gunther, and that's part of why I could kind of see him again just waltzing up. But the thing is though, kind of slanting over to Priest, and this is where I kind of think Priest has a bit of an edge because him and Gunther both have crazy stories about how they've evolved in the business and in life and have gotten to where they are, and they're both very, very worthy of their spot on the card.
Man, that Priest picture on the other hand, 10 years ago, I'm sorry to interrupt you, but that picture of the two of them 10 years ago, oh my god. I knew Gunther looked like that. I knew he had the whole green hair thing, he was chubby, all that stuff. I had no idea Damian Priest looked like that. Good lord.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, and it's crazy too. He advanced even getting up to Ring of Honor, but from his Ring of Honor days, even he has just chiseled himself out, and he's evolved his look and his in-ring ability. I mean, he had promise in Ring of Honor too. I watched his Punishment Martinez matches. Great guy. He was deserving of everything he won in there too. But
dumb name. Such a dumb name. Edgelord fucking name.
Punishment Martinez. What's your safe word, bro?
Well, I mean, Damian Priest, I mean, let's be real. Damian Priest is a slight step above. But because, I'm half devil and I'm half angel, it's Damian Priest. Yeah, I think he could have.
Let's not talk about that. That fucking run was bad too.
That amazing Tron that he had, where he's he's every that Facebook meme or whatever where it's like, oh, I'm a very nice person, but I'm also the sickest motherfucker you'll ever be. Like that's Damian Priest's kind
I was
of
I was
under all of
I
it.
was
That's him in
thinking
a
that
nutshell.
meme where it was like, I can be your angle or I can be your devil.
Oh yeah,
No,
Damian Priest,
it's
boys, in a nutshell.
he's got such the rock star vibe to him now though. Like he
Oh, his
really
drip.
looks like a star. And
He was dripped the fuck out after the first night he brought out the world title when he had that like crimson suit on or that like that red velveteen suit with the
yeah,
chains and shit. I was like, man, this dude just is carrying right now. Like, this is the guy you want on posters.
Lexus King, that's his dream right there, is to be like Damian Priest. Just that
It's a
true like rock star imagery. Looks great. But sorry,
it's a worthy dream.
I cut you
No,
off.
you're good. Well, and he backs it up too. Like you said, like Priest is just he's waiting, he's itching to get to that next level, and I think the win against Gunter definitely does that. I don't. It sucks that they're hosting in Berlin because to that point, I don't see him holding the title much longer beyond that. If he can beat Gunter at least one time, the unbeatable Gunter, I think he will have proven something, especially if he beats him clean. And I hope for his sake that he at least gets that much. I think that, you can't give everybody a fresh new title reign coming out of SummerSlam. I feel like besides, Cody Rhodes, because I don't see Solo winning his match, but I feel like Damian for sure
Whaler.
is, well, and Liv too, but
And Liv, yeah. And maybe
I mean,
Bailey.
yeah, tough. But I mean, Damien specifically, I feel like it's close, but I do see Damien retaining at least at SummerSlam. Will he face and beat Gunter a second time? Highly unlikely. But I mean,
So
Damien has been, eh?
how do you justify the rematch? I mean, I know they're just doing it for Braun Breaker, but like it's kind of lazy to have a guy lose clean and then still give him a rematch the following PLE, Like they made it work for Braun, kind of, because they still had a number one contenders match, but like,
Mhm.
uh, well, I wasn't a huge
I
fan of
don't
that, and
know.
then they're gonna do it again with Gunther if he loses to
Yeah,
Damien.
yeah, I don't know. I mean, and that's the thing too. Like, I feel like we've talked about
Run.
trends in booking, right? I feel like they could run it back. They could make something work for Gunter, especially if he's going to be in his hometown. Like put Gunter in a point of desperation where like he realizes Berlin's coming up and he's going to do whatever it takes to get into the match. Now, whether or not the fans interpret him as a heel or face based on what he does to get there, that's another thing. Could it? I mean, whatever could even prompt some character evolution out of Gunter as well, because I mean, he's kind of been the same guy since he's gotten into the company, which not a bad thing necessarily, especially because it's been so effective. But I think it would be interesting too to kind of see what Gunter would be doing in order to get a rematch with Damian Priest, especially with such high stipulation involved.
Okay, so
I don't know.
I think Gunther's gonna win. I don't like the scenario of him losing and then getting a rematch at Berlin because he's going to be in a title match at Berlin. That's I think a foregone conclusion more than anything else.
Sure,
And
sure, sure.
uh, him losing and then getting another title match right after they've done that with Braun Breaker, I'm not a big fan of it. And Gunther's been so dominant, and Priest doesn't look like he's going to be able to have any help going into that match, and he hasn't won clean without it. And he's not having CM Punk bail him out this time, so
Oh, we don't know that.
you're right. We CM Punk could find that Gunther disrespected him and make his life a living hell, and never, ever, 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 ever let him be title while he's on the show. But I don't think that's happening. I think Gunther wins. Rip Damian Priest.
So we got 2 Gunther to 1 Damien.
You're leading more Gunther, Pierce. You were kind of like real
I
on the
am.
fence.
I am. It's very much like a 51 to 52% Gunther to 49-48. it's about as on the fence as you could be.
That's fair. I respect that. And Brandon, I totally see your point, and I can agree with a lot of it. I just, on my personal biases, I don't want to see Gunther lose and get another title match the next 3 weeks, 4 weeks later.
I mean, hey, that's fair. I understand. Like, I get it too, right? Like, you don't want to repeat the same kind of trends. You don't want booking to get stale. But yeah, like I said, it's going to be one of those where, like, I feel like we all kind of agree that it's going to be kind of a toss-up. I feel like it's going to be one of those we'll see what happens kind of moments. And it'll be interesting to see what happens to either guy if they lose. But
So I mean, Gunther, if he loses, like I said, you kind of already feel like he's going to get the rematch at Bash at Berlin. Damian, the only obvious thing would be if Finn turns on him at some point, and then you get the match with Finn. Outside that, that's the one big worry I have with Damian Priest as well, is if he does lose, I don't know where they go with him.
I think the Judgment Day just wholesale turns on him. Because, I mean, how many times does Damian have to say, I don't need the Judgment Day, for them to all finally catch on and be like, oh, okay, we get it. And then just completely excommunicate him.
It'll keep him busy for a bit for sure, but if also your plan is to have the Wyatts go with Judgment Day, like that kind of also leaves Damian Priest in limbo there too. Like someone's going to be in limbo as a result of Damian Priest losing. So
it's Carlito.
Yeah. All right. Well, that leaves us with one match, which is most likely going to be the main event. Not that it necessarily should be, but it probably will be due to things that could happen in this match. Cody Rhodes defends the undisputed WWE Championship versus the Tribal Chief, Solo Sikoa.
Put a little asterisk next to that one.
You're not going to acknowledge him?
I mean, I'll acknowledge him if and when the true Tribal Chief shows up.
Wow.
And he can actually back up his mouth.
I'm gonna send Tom Laboa after you with his eye patch.
Yeah, Snake Plissken or whatever the fuck. Tongue and Snake.
Yeah. Gotta send him after you. You can't be disrespecting our Tribal Chief like that.
Never said he's
gonna
my
make me
Chief.
fly up to Canada.
Oh, yeah. You mean you guys don't have your
It's gonna be one of my new. It's gonna be one of my new bits. Just me threatening to come up to Canada to fight you.
I mean, I'll put up a finger for Solo, but it's not going to be my pointer. I'll just say it like that.
No, yeah.
You guys.
Yeah. Once we get our face cam started on this, you would see a naughty finger up right now.
Be the index finger.
Yeah, I got.
Point it to the skies. The ones. I can't keep up this front any longer. I don't acknowledge Solo Sikoa as my Tribal Chief. I hope he's not listening.
I acknowledge he's good. I don't acknowledge he's great. He's not great.
He's getting better. He's getting better.
Stepped up his game. He stepped up his promo game. I mean, in the ring, he was already pretty damn good. I've enjoyed the Bloodline, like I've said in the past. You know, this mob boss that's not afraid to get his hands dirty. Now you got Jacob Fatu, you got Tama Tonga, you got Tonga Loa, I guess.
Yeah, you do.
And you know he's going to do something.
So
and that something is botch.
I gotta dial it back a little bit because there's been some discussion on what happens in this match, and I mean, we kind of already have the expectation that Roman Reigns returns in some capacity, whether it be during the match or after the match.
Not coming back for Berlin.
No. But does anybody else come back? Do we get Paul Heyman back? Do we get Jimmy Uso back? There's been some discussion of Jimmy Uso coming back and screwing up the tag match on Friday and costing the the Bloodline the tag match against DIY. Do you think it's just going to be Roman? Do you think it's going to be anybody else with Roman or prior to Roman or anything at all, or is it just going to be Roman Reigns
I think
coming back?
I think Jimmy as a harbinger for Roman is a safe bet. I feel like that's kind of the buy-in where like if you see Jimmy coming back and you see where he's going to stand on his business, then you can trust that Roman's not going to be too far behind. I think the wise man will come in tow with him. Whatever Jay's going to do, whatever Sammy's going to do, I think they'll eventually tie in at some point too. Not immediately necessarily, because there's a lot of depth that goes into Jay and his dynamic with both his brother and with Roman. So that's going to have to get
Tribal
ironed out over
apology.
time.
Tribal apology.
That's going to have to get.
It's like the trial of Sami Zayn. This is going to be the tribal apology where Roman talks about his mistakes and comes out a better man. I think you could probably hold off on Paul. I think Jimmy and Paul do come back. And I think what causes it is, you have the Bloodline, you get a ref bump, Bloodline beat the shit out of Cody. Randy and Kevin Owens get neutralized. Jimmy comes out, Paul Heyman comes out. One's in the sky, and you hear that first note of Head of the Table, and the crowd, you'll get one of the greatest babyface pops of all time.
I will pop huge.
And
Watching it, I can't even watch this show live because of commitments. But man, the pop I'm gonna have when I see that happen, oh my goodness. Huge
Oh,
pop.
man, it's going to be nuclear.
I'm gonna say that Zilla Fatu comes out. I'm gonna text you just fake spoilers the whole time.
No.
I was
do
like,
not.
man, I can't believe
So
that
they-
Trish Stratus screwed Rhea Ripley.
I mean, they've already confirmed
Well-
signing Hikuleo, so Hikuleo is going to factor in before anybody. Which that would be interesting too. Who does Hikuleo side with? Does he side with his brothers? Because we all know Solo doesn't
He's gonna
side with his.
brothers.
Did you
I don't
find
know.
out
I
five
think
War Games?
Tong-
Yes.
Tongans together strong.
Yeah.
I don't know, man. I think Hikuleo's got as good a chance of being with Roman as anyone, personally.
I don't know. I just think like having the traditional bloodline is going to matter. Like the imagery associated with the OG bloodline going up against the new bloods is what's going to lead him to more likely be with Solo. But it's possible. But I think like the imagery associated with the original bloodline getting the band back together, I think is going to be the easiest thing to sell to the masses than adding any new blood to that.
Well, inevitably you got to have new blood, though, right? Because, you mentioned War Games 5-on-5, and even if you factor Sami Zayn into the mix, you still are left with 4.
And
at
then
the end
you
of it.
have adrenaline in your soul.
Something.
Cody's the 5th guy.
Cody Rhodes.
Yeah,
Cody's the 5th man.
It's
possible.
It's gonna be a bit before we see that. I have in my notes that I expect the finish to be the bloodline gets taken out, a spear to Solo, a crossroads, a 1-2-3. I think this starts with the bloodline, the real bloodline civil war. They had the bloodline civil war last year, but that wasn't a real bloodline civil war. This is like you're legit going into Avengers of Infinity War moment.
War Games in Vancouver. Are all these guys allowed to get into Canada again? I would assume so, right?
They're gonna have to.
Jimmy wasn't there.
Maybe Triple H can pull some strings.
That lawyer's going to be putting in overtime. Holy shit.
Yeah, because I don't think Jay was that a huge deal getting into Canada, but I know Jimmy was. And I mean...
Well, either way, I think they both have DUIs on their record, do they not? I mean, I would imagine Jay's is a bit more dated. Jimmy's had multiple.
Yeah, and definitely more recently, too, because he had one during the pandemic, right?
Yeah. When they got Jacob in once already, so as long as Jacob doesn't fuck up between now and Survivor Series, he should be fine. Hopefully.
Yeah. Cody's winning this match, right? Like, there's no chance Solo Sikoa has to win this match. That would be
Oh no chance.
okay.
I think Solo will have his time eventually, but it's not time to crown him now. It
No.
would be very much feeling like Jinder Mahal winning again. Like
Yeah, and
an
except there's no
unearned.
market to appease to for that. Like, at least I get where you were going
The
with.
Samoan Isles.
Oh yeah, because they haven't
No.
been appeased enough.
Yeah, it's not even like I wouldn't even say it's like Jinder Mahal because at least Jinder Mahal, like you can argue, put in his dues. Like Solo, like it's crazy, and I've said it before. Like just when you consider the class of NXT that he came up with, like when you had guys like like Carmelo Hayes, and you had guys like right, who's the Don in NXT? I'm just being stupid
Tony
here.
D'Angelo.
That's the guy. Yup, D'Angelo. You had Breaker, and you had oh cripes. Yeah, you had D'Angelo, Breaker, Hayes, and then there's one other. There's one other guy I could have sworn. There's like kind of like their four pillars of NXT 2.0 or whatever. But
Von
Solo was
Wagner.
in that. I don't
Hey,
think
he was
so.
in that original main event, that fatal 4-way on the first NXT 2.0.
Was he?
Yeah, he was, wasn't he?
Oh
Not?
shoot! I must have
Oh
tuned
no,
out for that.
maybe
I must
he was. No, he wasn't in it, but he was involved in it because Kyle O'Reilly was in that match, right?
Maybe. I'd have to tune back in. I'd have to revert. I missed a lot of NXT 2.0, admittedly, but
He was a
like
focal
I
point.
remember
If he wasn't in that match, he was definitely a focal point associated with Kyle O'Reilly being in that match.
they were trying to definitely put some behind Von Wagner at the time. I do recall that, but like it was just crazy. Like even when you consider Von Wagner, and you consider all these guys in combination, like even when you factor Braun Breaker and like not any of them, I don't think have had as much success as far as like mainstream exposure and as far as main roster feature as Solo Sikoa. Like you could argue Braun because he's been an NXT champion twice and stuff, and right, he was one of the guys to beat Gunther, so he's had little watershed moments like that. But like when you consider like Solo has been featured in main events of WrestleMania now, and he's helped Roman keep the championship for as long as he had, and then he's now the guy to lead the bloodline, to call Roman out and to try and be on equal footing with him to get a WWE championship match with Cody Rhodes off of virtually nothing except for the storyline. You would want to argue for nepotism or what have you, but I mean, right, we were talking about how Solo going to call himself a badass and a leader when he's lost this many matches, and now he's got this meat behind him. He's got Tama, he's got Tonga Loa, he's got God, he's got Jacob Fatu now, and now we're saying like, oh well, maybe he does deserve to be in this picture. Like it's part of the reason why I feel like Solo, and I've said it before to keep things short, but like he's good, but he's not great. And I feel like a lot of where he is, and I don't know how many people could argue, is based off of right the bloodline, right, like the family tree.
Yeah, he's fine.
And
he's fine.
He's fine. He's passable, but
he's not
definitely not in a spot
head
to
of
be
the
Cody.
brand. No, he's not. He's not head of the brand kind of guy. I don't think he ever will be. To be totally honest with you, it just doesn't seem like.
I think he's a secondary world title guy.
Yeah, transitional.
He's never gonna be
mid card champ. Lead.
They're foreshadowing something heavy. They're foreshadowing something heavy with Jacob Fatu. Like if you follow him on Twitter at all, where Jacob has to keep saying how much he loves Solo Sikoa, and he makes a point to keep professing that. Like something's going to happen with that too. And
That's
Jacob and people have been staying
soon either, though. I don't think you're going to see that anytime soon. That's like War Games.
Yeah, it's on. I feel like it's another one of those things. Before the end of the year, we'll see some development in that regard. And people have been saying about Fatu too. Like he's going to outshine Solo in so many ways, and not just in ring, but like on the stick too. Like if you guys have ever, and I would recommend if there's anybody listening to go back and watch Jacob Fatu's shit from MLW when he's getting on Alex Hammerstone, current TNA superstar, but they had a crazy feud in MLW, kind of a definitive feud actually, where he's talking about dog walking Hammerstone's ass, and he has so much intensity in his promos. Rivals Tama Tonga, in my opinion. as far as like the intensity and what you want to see as far as like what was that? You say something?
Slither
We'll say
around.
New Japan Tamatonga. We'll say, but but you got to keep your eyes on Jacob Fatu is one to keep an eye on though. Like they aren't touting him like they are for nothing.
We're about to
they've
get
got
Bloodline OG versus Bloodline Firing Squad, boys.
Oh, I love it. That's just gonna be crazy.
All right. Well, we don't want to get too far ahead of ourselves. We all think Cody's going to win. We're wrapping this one up
Lead into
pretty close, but I just
Cody
have,
versus Randy.
yeah, maybe. We'll see. Well, we'll talk about that post. We'll talk about that a little bit post show in the interest of time here. But one more question I wanted to get into it and ask you guys is: do you think any other surprises, appearances, anything outside of the matches that are currently booked right now happens? I know there's been people talking about Brock Lesnar. We've had John Cena appear here, there. And do you guys see anything happening that's not clearly being booked right now?
I hope somebody beats
I
down
don't
Jelly
think
Roll. Give him the Toby Keith beatdown. Give him the Toby Keith feature. Like his first show on TNA, which I want to talk about too. We didn't talk about, boys. August 1, identity revealed.
Oh God.
Totally missed that talking about that earlier. Boys. On this day. Sorry, I didn't mean it had to come out.
Darn.
The bad boy.
You boys are reacting to this.
Huntington Beach.
Boys, you guys got the same reaction that Mr. Anderson had too when he saw the Huntington Beach bad boy on this day 11 years ago now. Talking about 11 years ago happenings in wrestling too. Hey, there it is. A watershed mark, a watershed moment in
Shout
TNA.
out to
history.
Green Bay
before-
native, Mr. Anderson.
Was that before or after
Yes, that
he
is.
beat his porn star wife? Like, ugh. Tito Ortiz is trash.
Yeah, he was definitely way past his prime. He was way out of relevance, but they had to bring somebody to counter Rampage when he was brought in for Aces and Eights. And that's who the main event Mafia went with. So, yeah, that's about as far as it went, though. And right, wife beater that he is, thankfully, that's all he would have gotten.
Transition to a different.
I could not let that sit on the show.
UFC champion. Yeah, you should have. You should have.
I agree.
Hey, historic, boys. August 1 warning. I gave the warning on the Facebook post. I couldn't let it live.
Not the word I would use, but God, 2010's TNA is dog shit. Anyway, to transition to a different UFC champion, I do not think Brock's going to come back unless it's for a one-off Hall of Fame induction. I won't get too into it, but with him being possibly implicated with the sex trafficking of Vince McMahon, they need to be hands off until everything is settled. And I mean, Brock can probably... Brock doesn't want to come back unless Brock wants to come back, if we're being honest. I think he's fine being up there in Canada killing bears with his bare hand.
No. No other surprises, appearances.
We
got the Miz.
Trying to think of Canadian legends or Cleveland legends.
Yeah, like I say, you got the Miz as the host, so you'll probably have a Miz R-Truth Jelly Roll.
Miz Dad. Bring back Miz Dad.
Oh, God. Okay, so no surprises. Great, guys. Thanks for coming on the show. Talk to you.
Dude, WrestleMania 35 Miz Dad was the funniest shit ever.
Oh, God.
Because of the working partnership, maybe you get another Cleveland native. Isn't Ziggler from Cleveland?
Cincinnati, I think.
Yeah, maybe we get a Nick Nemeth appearance.
He keeps getting booked as being from Vegas, right?
Nowadays, I think.
Florida. Hollywood, Florida, when he was Ziggler.
Oh yeah, you're right.
Let's see. What does it say? He's from Cleveland. Born in Cleveland.
Maybe we get a Nick Nemeth appearance. Maybe we see Joe Hendry. You're wrong about your opinion, Donnie. He's the best.
No, he's not. It's boring.
Yes, he is. I believe.
Second on that belief there, Donnie.
That's fine. I'm allowed to be on the minority on the right things.
Yeah, on the right things.
Yeah.
Fucking asshole.
I,
You Canucks. And your wrong opinions. Aye.
All right, no new surprises, and no one's chomping at the bit to get anything out. SmackDown, the only thing we might see there is the title change on the tag titles, or a Jimmy Uso return, hypothetically. Outside of that, I don't think SmackDown is going to be very exciting at all. Yeah, you guys got anything else you guys want to talk about, or are we good to go on episode 4?
I kind of poisoned the well with the TNA mention, so I'm good. I got that monkey off my back.
That's why I'm talking about good TNA with Joe Hendry.
Oh, God.
Oh,
For as long as they can have him.
I think
Because
maybe
WWE is courting him hard.
Maybe we see the Motor City Machine Guns finally debut sometime soon. Be it AEW or WWE, I'd prefer WWE. I'd like to see them mixed up with DIY.
I thought they said they were signed to WWE. I thought I heard reports of that.
I mean, everything has been up in the air, so it's hard to say. Other than that, I'm excited for Saturday, boys. It's going to be a good time. I'm going to drink some beers. I like getting chicken wings, even though, sports versus sports entertainment. I like chicken wings with my sports.
That's okay.
Well, we'll have a good time.
I'm going to be at Rib Fest in southwestern Ontario, so I'll be having some.
If you want to meet Donnie from the Ope-Eh 3-way,
yeah, just
stop on by Rib Fest.
St. Catherine's Rib Fest this Saturday. I'll be listening to whatever crappy country band they have.
Sounds like my kind of festival. Ribs are my favorite food.
You guys don't have Rib Fests?
Yeah.
We got Rib Fests, it's like a traveling tour around here.
Yeah, we have a Rib Fest. There's one in Elkhorn, Pierce.
Yeah,
you know where Elkhorn is?
Yeah, that's what I was thinking of.
Yep. Yeah, it's great. I love it. They got they even got international flavor. I'm pretty sure they got some you Canuckskis bringing some of your stuff down to us too from there, or for that rather.
We got some all dressed ribs.
Oh, boys, gimme! I'm down for that.
For double ribs. Double.
No double ribs. Come on now, can't ruin a good thing like that.
Coffee rub's a thing. Coffee rub's a legit barbecue thing.
That's true, but not usually at the Rib Fest stuff. It's all sauced up to 12,
That's a good point.
You're gonna send her off.
That's all I got.
All right, take it away, Pierce.
Once again, thank you all for listening to Ope-Eh 3-Way Wrestling Podcast. Next time, why don't you have a beer on us?